Alright, we are live. We are live in all the places. Good morning, Omani. Good to see you. Good morning, Zhang. I am the coffee man. That might be one of the ways my kids think about me. It's funny. I am the coffee man. What the crab's doing? No rustation over here this morning. Only C#. No rust. No rust in sight. Alright, let's see. I've got some other homework things to do. Gotta do this. Fazla Rabbi. Nice. I like that username. I'm doing good, man. Yeah, I can't complain. You know? Life's good. I'm healthy. My kids are healthy. Ooh, excuse me. Oh shoot, I'm gonna sneeze again. Oh my goodness.
Did we just become best friends?
Alright, that's better. Ilmanian, how can you be here without having coffee, man? You gotta have coffee. You gotta have coffee. Or at least some warm caffeinated beverage. Guess it doesn't necessarily have to be coffee. Okay. So I think today, I finished the refresh endpoint from yesterday. So I think today we're going to try to see if we can't start figuring out how we interact with the Plaid API. I'm not 100% certain how the API works. So there's going to be some reading, there's going to be some trial and error, some experimentation. We might have to dive into the front end at some point because I think Plaid's API requires, especially when you go to production, I'm almost 100% certain they require you to have a UI in order to make it really work. So we might have to figure that out. So it's gonna be a morning. We're gonna try to have ourselves a day if we can figure this out successfully. Am I sleepy? No, I feel pretty good. I mean, I just woke up though, like 21 minutes ago, so what are you gonna do? The Hag, thanks for following the channel, man. I missed your follow alert because I think I was blowing my nose or handling my sneeze. So sorry about that. But no, I feel pretty good. Yeah. One of these days, Steven is going to write .NET Core code on a Marchi. Yeah, I will. You're right. This is if there was a poly market for this, it would be 100%. Or I guess if there was a prediction market, because I guess now there's more than one prediction market out there. Alas, not today though. Today we shall continue our lives on Windows 11. All right. Where do we start? That's the question. What do we start with? I think we start with just the docs. And then if we need to pull down some of their sample code, we'll pull down some of their sample code. I have, if you guys are curious, I don't know how many of you are actually that curious, but just so that you guys know, I have been leaving the branches of my code up. I mean, obviously you can see just from the history if you want to, but I have been leaving long-running feature branches up on the repo. So if you want to see like what I did for login, what I did for a refresh, you can go and see here on the GitHub repo. And this is linked in the description of the stream. So if you're curious, this is where you can find it. All right, so let's go to plaid.com. And we need to figure out where the docs are. See, this is the API documentation. So the first thing I want to be able to do is I want to be able to add a, also this is going to blind us, guys. This shit is bright. I'm going to iSaber mode. All right, so we have API. It looks like we have endpoints. We also support webhooks. Okay, I wonder what the webhooks are for. Let's see, to gain access to the Plaid API, create an account on the Plaid dashboard. Once you've completed the sign-up process, acknowledge our terms. We'll provide a client ID and secret via the dashboard. Okay, I already have that done, so that's lucky for us. The Plaid API is JSON over HTTP. Ooh, I love me a good JSON API. Let's see, requests are post requests, and responses are JSON with errors indicated in response bodies as error code and error type. Ooh, I hate that. I hate that. Why did they do that? They basically have a GraphQL API. I hate that. So basically everything's a 200 success. I don't like that. The Plaid API is served over HTTPS to ensure data privacy. Clients must use an up-to-date root certificate. All requests must include content type of application JSON, and the body must be valid JSON. That's fine. Almost all Plaid endpoints require a client ID and secret. These may be sent either in the request body or in the headers Plaid client ID and Plaid client secret, or Plaid secret. Every Plaid API response includes a request ID, either in the body or, in the case of endpoints that return binary data, such as asset report PDF get, in the response headers. For faster support, include the request ID when contacting support regarding a specific API call. Okay, that might be important for me for the purposes of logging. This might be something I want to capture. Plaid has two environments, a sandbox and a production. Items cannot be moved between environments. The sandbox environment supports only test items. You can request production API access via the dashboard. Storing API data. Any token returned by the API is sensitive and should be stored securely, except for the public token and link token. All Plaid tokens are long-lasting and should never be exposed on the client side. Consumer data attained from the Plaid API is sensitive information and should be managed accordingly. So I might need some encryption. Yeah, hold on. Okay, let's pull up our good friend Gemini here. And I mean, we probably should put it in pro mode because we want the smartest version of Gemini. Brett Kuski, you're coding. I'm coding right now. Also random, but did you name your kid Kyler like Kylo? Are they strong in the Force? So no, actually, we named Kyler before Kylo was even a thing. When was the first, let's see, Kylo Ren first appearance? 2015. Oh yeah, so he would have been born after this. Huh. Maybe it incepted us? No, the reason his name is what his name is because we have a family member who's named Tyler and a family member who's named Kyle. And so we just kind of wanted a namesake for those two people, so we just smashed the names together. But that's why. But I mean, the Force is pretty strong with him, though he does have some tendencies towards the dark side. Like when he was really little, he used to like to pretend Force choke people. I mean, I don't know if that was a foreshadowing of things to come, but I mean, Force choking is a pretty cool move, right? Rookley YouTube. Good day, mate. Good day, Rookley. How are you doing? Oh, hey, you changed your name. Yeah, I recognize your profile picture, but your username's different. Nice. I can definitely say Rookley now. Oh, I should probably update that, shouldn't I? Sorry, Almanian. What's he doing? We are trying to figure out exactly how the Plaid API works by doing some reading and exploratory coding. There we go. Bro needs a saber now. He does have a Kylo Ren costume though. He has a Kylo Ren costume. It's funny, my youngest son has always been super into like dressing up and playing pretend, you know? Like we probably have 100 different costumes of different like characters and stuff that we bought over the years. And my oldest son used to like to do that when he was little. And my oldest son has just, or not, my oldest son used to like to do that when he was little too, but my youngest son has like continued to do it. You know, he has yet to lose his interest in that, which is a lot of fun. Maybe he'll be an actor or something someday. All right, so I probably need to keep some notes here. So let's see. It sounds like access token are long-lived and need to be persisted. Prob need to encrypt them. Which adds a whole layer of complexity. Many string fields returned by the Plaid API are reported exactly as returned by the financial institution. For this reason, Plaid does not have maximum length limits or standardized formats for strings. Okay. Plaid returns all currency values as decimal values in dollars rather than integers. Okay. Open API definition file. That's nice. We have one of those. We're going to use a client library though. The Postman collection is a conventional tool for exploring Plaid API endpoints without writing code. The Postman collection provides pre-formatted requests for almost all of Plaid's API endpoints. All you have to do is fill in your API keys and any arguments to get started. And then I think when we looked at this the other day, there is a .NET library, and I think we already linked that. And then we're going to need a client library too. So for information on Plaid's front-end SDKs for web and mobile, see link. So we'll have to do this. Oh, there's a view. There's a view. Oh, there's a solid.js one too. Okay. So what's the basic, the question is, what's the basic kind of flow for getting an account added? right? Because basically my app needs to keep track of a list of accounts, and then my app needs to capture transactions for those accounts. But the first thing it should be able to do, like the first user flow, should be you log into the site, you have a blank dashboard, so you're going to need to be able to click a button somewhere and initiate some sort of flow that ends in an account being added to your to the database and then tied to you as the user. So we need to figure that out. How do we do that? We have auth. No, that's payments and funding. Here we go. Fundamentals, accounts. An API reference for retrieving account information and seeing all possible account types and subtypes. Okay, so this might be a good use case for AI. Let's see. I'd like you to act as my subject matter expert on the Plaid API. I'm using it for the first time, and I'm trying to get up to speed with how you do things. Stripe gives you a redirect, so I think it's the same. Yeah, I think there is, you need a front end. So there is like a linking you have to do using the front end. But what I want to do to start with is I just want to explore using the sandbox. And I don't think the sandbox environment, if I remember right, because I did look at all this like a year ago when I set all my account up. And if I remember right, there's a sandbox environment that you don't need a front end for. Obviously, I could be hallucinating this, but we'll see. I've been messing around with this idea of a Java extension / IDE that allows for drag and drop visual coding, ties compilation errors, and draws exactly where issues are as well. Right now, it's a hybrid app. Interesting. That's cool. First of all, I love the name, Mocha. I love the name. But the visual piece is very cool.
I'd like to say something.
Your stream, I like. Very nice. I would like very much to make romance to Stevan Freeborn face, like.
First off, my face is off limits.
With some. And maybe some. Or we can. Otherwise, just. Definitely.
Probably a CLI to hit webhooks or something. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but we're gonna try to figure it out. Have a good day, Skits. Bye-bye. Man, I haven't had to ban very many people in a long time, and I've had to ban 2 people or 3 people this week. Something's in the water. Something is in the water. All right. Okay, I didn't need all that information. Sounds good, bruh. I'd like you to help me. Okay. Before I write any front end code, I just want to explore the back end. I just want to explore the back end logic. Isn't there? This is. This thing can't help itself besides just I just want to explore the backend logic. Isn't there a sandbox environment I can use for this? I just want to try it out. Please don't ban me. All right, but like the text to speech isn't there for you guys to like experiment with. The text to speech is there for you guys to actually say things. Ilmanian. I feel like that's why text to speech should be a paid thing on a stream, is because otherwise people just get curious and they want to fuck around and find out. Okay, in fact, Plaid provides a specific backdoor endpoint available only in the sandbox environment that lets you bypass the front-end widget entirely. This is what I want. Normally, you need the front-end Plaid link to generate a public token. However, for backend-only testing, you can generate this token programmatically via the API. Lurk away, Ilmanian, lurk away. ChatGPT and Gemini offer unique takes. When doing self-projects, I like to flick through both, considering where it pulls information. That's an interesting idea. Kind of like fact-check the AIs against each other. All right, so there is an endpoint to create a public token. So that's good. You will get a public token immediately. Exchange for the access token. Okay. You now have the access token. Fetch data to make your actual call. So you provide your client ID, your secret, and your access token. No, I don't want to use Postman. All right, so I think what I'll do is I think what I'll do is I'll start simple and okay, so hold on. Before I do this, cool. That is super helpful. Could you real quick lay out the flow using an ASCII diagram for what it would look like for a user to add an account? What request would be issued to the backend to buy backend from the front end, and so on. I think what happens is it's something like the client initiates a link thing, your backend creates the link, it sends the link back to the client then handles that link with the Plaid front end SDK, and then you get a public token. You send that back to your backend, and then your backend handles all of the. Let's see, user, click connect, request link token. Your backend makes a request to create the link token. This is where you have to have a front end, because you have to use a widget, just like when we're dealing with Stripe. Then the public token gets sent back from the, then you exchange, get the access token, save it to the database. So for testing purposes, let's just assume that we'll have an endpoint that we call, and when we call this endpoint is just going to immediately use this endpoint to create the access token, and then make a request. We won't worry about saving it or anything. All right, what endpoint do I hit to get details about an account once I have the access token? You ever just watch these interviews today and find it frustrating no one wants to code without reading AI prompt? Like, where's the effort? Yeah, I think LLMs and AI make it very easy to just like this, right? Like what I'm doing right now is far more easier than climbing through the Stripe documentation and trying to piece together the disparate information that's on different pages, right? And so because of that value and the ease and the convenience that LLMs offer, it oftentimes just, I think, makes it the path of least resistance for most people, and when it comes to coding, right? It's like, why sit here and think about the problem myself when I could just ask AI? And I think there's a time and place for that. Like, I was talking to somebody in the comments yesterday on YouTube, and he was saying that he really likes AI because it lets him power through tasks that he doesn't really otherwise care about, particularly for work related stuff. And so I think there is value in that, right? Like, who gives a shit? Let me just get this CRUD thing done. The care and feeding, though, you have to take that just means that you have to be that much more intentional about the care and feeding you take towards your own skills, right? Because if you constantly are delegating all those reps and opportunities to the LLM, then you're not getting them yourself, right? So you have to be much more intentional about it. So I'm not really frustrated by people who don't want to put effort into coding. Like, it's their life, they can kind of do it however they want to do it, But I'm gonna try to find some happy middle ground here, personally. So there's an accounts endpoint. Okay. All right. Let's see if I can't wire this up. Let's see if I can get this happening. So let's do a add account. And we'll make an endpoint. Just copy this stuff. Actually, hold on. No, this is fine for now. I don't want to get too caught up in the architecture. Let's just focus on getting some data, right? So our whole goal today is to try to make a successful request and get some data back from the Plaid API. That's our goal. So let's do physical os.api. Add account. I think this is going to be like accounts add, or actually this will be accounts and just be a post endpoint. And then let's get the signature of this guy. That looks good. And then let's go over to our terminal. Let's add the dependency for that NuGet package. This is called, what was it called? Going.plaid. .net add package. I think this case you inherently know and others do not. Yeah. I mean, I personally would find it very frustrating if I was working with other people and they were using AI a lot. I would get frustrated if I asked those people's questions about their code and they couldn't answer them. Right? That would frustrate me. Personally. All right, we're just gonna do this all in line. Oops. Okay, and then we're just gonna say var plaid config equals config dot get section, and for now we'll just call it plaid options. We'll say give me from services, give me the I configuration config. We'll say var secret equals plaid config dot get value. This will be secret. This will be client ID. Okay. And then this is where we're going to use the sandbox. So let's see, client dot sandbox. Excuse me. Public token create. Okay. And what does this need? var public token response. Var public token request equals new sandbox create token So use the sandbox public token create endpoint to create a valid public token for an arbitrary institution ID, initially products and test credentials. Initial products and test credentials. The created public token maps to a new sandbox item. You can then call item public token exchange to exchange the public token for an access token and perform all API actions. Yes, this is what I want. But how do I know what to send to this? This requires a sandbox public token create request. Oops. And what is the definition of this guy? Let's see. Institution ID, initial products. The products to initially pull for the item. Maybe an institution ID supports. This array may not be empty. An optional set of options to be used when configuring must not be null. So are these things initialized? Huh. It kind of seems like if I don't fill that information, it's going to throw. Let's see if I can find an example here. Or hold on, did Gemini give me one? Oh, so you have to give a random institution ID. So let's do institution ID equals this guy. And then we need to come up with products. What is the proper initial product for retrieving account information? Good morning, Inspire. Good to see you, man. I've heard others using hooks to chat GPT and write until a fix is found. Huh. I wonder what that looks like. The morning's been good, man. Very quiet. We've had a very quiet week of streams this week, which is not bad because we've kind of been diving into some new stuff. But yeah, very, very quiet mornings. Okay, so we just need transactions. Initial products equals transactions. Oh. Oh, it's nice. They provide us a nice little enum for that. So far, I'm liking this SDK. We'll see how long that continues for. So we have institution ID, initial products, then we need our client and our sandbox. Okay, cool. That's all we need here. And I think what I'll do is I'll just say console.writeLine. Or actually, let's do it with the logger. Let's do from services. We'll do I logger equals, I guess, endpoint. I guess maybe just program then. And then we'll do logger.log information public token response dot request ID. We should probably check if it's successful or not. Say if public token response dot is success status code. Then we'll do one thing, else we'll say logger failed to get public token. Then we'll do logger.log information public token. The logging message template should not vary between calls to logger extension.log information. What do you want me to do here? CA 2254. Reaper's Edge 2. Just asking as a nice username, by the way, Reaper's Edge. Just asking as a junior dev, how can I find a job? I don't really have any good advice here. Well, I have what I think is good advice, but I don't have anything that's earth-shattering. My advice is figure out what companies you want to work for, both remotely or in your near area. Go to their website, pull a list of job openings, see if you qualify for any of them, and then start applying. And then after you apply, call the company and follow up on your application. And then do that until they tell you that they're either going to call you in for an interview or they've moved on. And then I would just repeat that again and again. That's how I've gotten every job I've ever had. That's how I got all my interviews back in the summer when I was looking for a new job. You know, go to LinkedIn, go to Indeed, search for the job you want, send resumes, applications, follow up as best as you can, and rinse and repeat. It's a numbers game. It's just like sales or marketing. It's a numbers game. Better question, how do I survive the job? Reaper's Edge, thanks anyway. Yeah, there's no secret to this in my opinion. I think the tech community and developers make this way more complicated than it needs to be because every profession in the history of humanity has had to get jobs. And the way you get jobs is you submit a lot of applications. It's just like a sales funnel. You submit a shit ton of applications. Make sure I fit this in this camera. You you submit a shit ton of applications, and then a small number of those people ask you to interview, and then an even smaller of them ask you to interview again, and then an even smaller interview ask you to interview again, and then eventually you end up hopefully with some that turn into offers, right? So it's just like a sales funnel. So the goal is you got to keep the funnel really, really wide, and you got to get as much things into your pipeline as possible to hopefully translate down to the bottom. Obviously, there are things that you can do to help optimize the conversion between application, interview, and offer. Like that's stuff you can improve. Like instead of cold applying, find a connection at the place you want to apply to, right? Be really good in your interview, right? Practice interviews. Learn to negotiate your offers. Like there's things you can do at each step of the way to give yourself a better shot. But there's no like secret hack. It's just a grind, and it's always been a grind. And if you're one of those lucky people who have had people just like fawning over you to give you a job and to hire you, man, am I jealous of you. Because in my 17 years of working, that has never been the case for me. No one has ever been like, please, Steven, come work for us. It's actually been like me at the door banging on it saying, let me in. I want to work here. Until somebody opens the door. So that's my thoughts, Reaper's Edge. I wish I had something that was a little bit more clever than that, but I wish you all the best in your job search. And I guess I say that to you because I don't want you to feel discouraged, and I don't want you to give up hope, and I don't want you to lose your enthusiasm, right? I want you to know that it is normal for the job hunting process to be shitty and hard and difficult and not fun, right? And a grind. And that's just, in my opinion, that's the way it is. And you just have to kind of embrace the suck and get through it. Reaper's Edge, thanks. Still a student though. Yeah, man. I mean, it's never too early to start practicing these skills. You know what I mean? It's never too early. I still go on interviews regularly, even if I'm not really looking for a job. It's still good to apply. It's still good to go on interviews. It's still good to keep those skills sharp, right? So it's never too early to start. Especially Reaper's Edge, especially as a student, it's never too early to start working on the things that help you convert your funnel better, right? So you could start networking. You could start going to meetups, right? You could start looking for internships. All those things that are going to help like give you experience, build your resume, and most importantly, create relationships where people are going to like want to bring you in, right? Like, hey, when you're done with school, come work here. Yeah, I get your point. 100%. That's what I think, Reaper's Edge. Hopefully that was helpful. Bet Krusky, another way is to become leak code champion. I don't know. Do people really hire based on leak code status? If they do, that seems wild to me. That if it was my company, we would not hire people based on their leak code abilities. Good morning, Blackfire. Good to see you. Always wasted. Do you know any popular programming languages that you can't really AI to vibe code with? I'm tired of disliking vibe coding, but at the same time, get pissed that I waste time when manually coding. Well, I don't think manual coding is wasting time though. That's the thing, right? That's to me that's like a misconception, right? Like vibe coding has what do I want to say? Vibe coding has distorted our expectation. a little bit, in my opinion, right? Manual coding is not wasting time. It's just different. It's a different activity, right? As far as programming languages that you can't vibe code with, I don't know. I will say that AI is not particularly good at C sharp. It largely generates old, outdated C sharp code a lot of times. Um, and I would guess if you tried to use something like Lisp, or if you tried to use something like Fortran or COBOL, or anything that's kind of more an obscure, not mainstream language, or any language that has gone through significant changes over the last, say, half a decade, kind of like .NET has. Um, I guess in .NET's case, it's more like decade, not half a decade. I would guess your results aren't very good. But I haven't spent very much time. I've spent quite a bit of time vibe coding, but I haven't spent um, enough time vibe coding with a bunch of different languages to give you a really good answer. That's just my theory. Would be the more esoteric or the more transformative the language has been recently, the worse the LLMs would be. Anything that relies on API is difficult to vibe code. I would vouch for that, Josh Galt. Yeah. Well, I just think it depends on how much those APIs change, right? How much do those APIs change and get updated on a regular basis? Sam D Dev, I have a good resume, but I keep getting bad job offers or get ghosted. That's first of all, Sam D Dev, that sucks. That sucks. I'm sorry that that keeps happening to you, but I do think that's part of the process. Again, it's a numbers game. It's a funnels game, right? So some offers are going to be bad, some jobs aren't going to reply to you, but you just need one, right? You just need one person. So don't let it discourage you, right? Like I know what that can feel like. I remember when I got laid off from my medical scribe job. I was doing personal training. I was running my personal training business during the day, and then I was doing medical scribing on the weekends and in the evenings, overnight shifts to supplement my income and help me basically bootstrap my business. And I lost that job, or they basically cut the scribe program at the hospital I was working at. And I remember looking for jobs right after that, and like a month before that, my wife had found out we were having our first kid, and I remember particularly how um, depressing. It's probably not the right word, but like how unfun that whole experience was because I really needed a job, and it was very difficult to find the next job. Yeah, so I'm sorry that's happening to you, but stay with it, stick with it. If you keep going, there's only one outcome, right? It's inevitable. You just need one person to give you a shot. You could try that good old fashioned paper and pencil coding. You could. You could. I remember writing batch RPG games on paper in 2016. That sounds miserable. That sounds miserable. It's really funny because I talk a lot about how that I find it uninteresting to vibe code. But if you took away an LSP, I probably wouldn't be a programmer. I don't know if I could go back to the days before LSPs existed. So I do like some help when I'm writing code. I just don't want all the help. Good morning, Derek. Just finished a CUDA programming session. Ooh, I'd like to see one of those. I've never seen anybody write CUDA before. What is that? What does CUDA look like? Oh, so you have to pick you still have to pick a language, huh? So C++ or C? Let's see. What languages can you use for CUDA programming? You can use several programming languages for CUDA with native support for C, C++, and Fortran, and robust library-based support and third-party wrappers for other languages like Python, Julia, and C#. Oh, nice. Very cool. Yeah, I've never done anything in this area, but I'd love to watch somebody who's really good in this area. I'm just over here trying to write my little web API. It's mainly C++ I use. Very cool. I've never written any C++, so that would be all new to me. Nope. So what you're saying is it should be public token response.public token. All right. Let's see if this works. So let's map our add account endpoint. Let's remove the unnecessary usings. All right, let's run the application. Oh, hold on. Before we do that, we need to set our. So let's do notepad then or source. Oh, actually, let's use my Rust notepad. Okay, we need to open. I think I'm not supposed to leak these on stream, so I'm going to do this off screen. Even if it's to the sandbox environment, I think I'm still not supposed to leak them. App settings .development. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay, cool. And then we need to go to my Plaid dashboard. Do that over here. Is it just me, or sometimes I need someone to talk to when working? Oh yeah, I love to talk out loud. Although sometimes I'm not talking to a particular person, I'm just talking to myself. Which is actually what I'm doing right now. I mean, there's nobody here in this room with me. So I'm sitting in my basement at 5 o'clock in the morning talking to myself. Ugh. Man, I've had like 10 yawns today. Okay, so there's my client's ID. So we will do Plaid options. Okay, so that's that. And now let's do .NET run. Let's open Postman. Let's add a new folder. Let's call this accounts. This in there. It's gonna be add account. HRL. Save. All right, let's try to send this, yeah? It doesn't appear like anything's happening. It almost seems like it's hung. So we have base URL, we have accounts, right? That's my endpoint. Accounts. Sandbox. We should be getting client ID, client secret. And then we should be returning okay. And we're posting, that's what we want. Huh. That's weird. It's almost like it's not even responding, or... Yeah, I don't even have logs that it's being hit. Do I need to... Let's see. I would have expected if it required authorization to return a 401. Okay, let me try one of the other endpoints. Okay, that works. Refresh. That works. So why? It makes me think something's wrong with the Plaid part of this. let's see, logger dot log retrieving config. Requesting token. Token received. I guess token response received. Is Plaid KYC API? I don't know. What do you mean by KYC? I'm not familiar with that acronym. That's so weird. Post to the right URL, accounts. It's just hanging. None of these logs, it's like it never hits this handler. That's so weird. Map post, the route is accounts. Accounts. That's so weird, man. Why? Know your customer? I know what that means in terms of banking, but I don't know what does that mean in terms of, what do you mean by SDK and know your customer SDK? I'm not sure what that means. Like, do you have to like submit an application and like fill out your information and all that stuff? If so, yes. There is like an approval process you have to go through. Imani, and ChatGPT is ANI. So ChatGPT's specialty is really good on one topic and not else, which doesn't really make sense to me. They have everything on the internet, almost everything in their data center. You can ask it for anything, and that made me think how AGI gonna look like. Huh. I don't know what ANI means, Omanian. All right. Let's get rid of all this stuff. Let's just see if we can get this thing to respond. If we can't get this thing to respond, then we know something is very much wrong. This doesn't make any sense. Somehow I've broken my API, and I don't know. I don't know how I did it. I did add a middleware. Let's see. I did add a middleware yesterday. If authorized result is succeed, return next. Otherwise, return. Okay, let me try removing the middleware. Maybe I didn't implement something correctly there. What else did I add yesterday? I mean, obviously I added all the schemas for authentication, authorization. I wouldn't think that would be coming into play because I'm allowing anonymous on the endpoint. But we'll see. This tab, unsaved change we lost. Let's see. Save changes. No auth, send. Yeah, it just hangs forever. Just forever. It just sits there. Spins. Think it's something wrong with Postman, maybe? I don't know. Let's try to curl it. Good morning, Artwork Studios. Good to see you. Artificial narrow intelligence, basically an AI model that's only good on one thing. Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard anybody put it that way. See, not found. Yep, that's what I would have expected. Method not allowed. Okay, so it is responding. So what? So is it Postman that's broken? Okay, I don't. That's so weird. All right. Oh, hold on, let me just undo it all. Okay. Now, let's restart the API since we have Postman working. Oh, let's also put back our middleware. Here we go. Aerobic, no BS. What's this app where you can send post and get cleanly? Are you talking about my app? The thing I'm working on? Because the thing I'm working on is just a finance app. And unless are you talking about this thing, Postman? This application I think is pretty ubiquitous across the tech industry for doing exploratory work with APIs. Appreciate Artwork Studios you stopping in and saying hi, man. It's very kind of you. If you're still here, if you're not still here, no worries. I missed your message until I read it just now. Okay, let's look at the logs. Okay, it worked. Sweet. So let's continue on with the flow then. So now that we have a public token, we should be able to do some other stuff with it. So let's remove these log statements. And then we'll just say, public token response dot ensure oh, there isn't one on there. If public token response dot is status code is false, then we're gonna throw new exception. Oh no. Okay, fine. We won't return. We won't throw. We'll just say return results dot internal server error for now. All right. So then once we have the public token, this is where we have to exchange it. So we'll say var access token response equals await client dot exchange. I think this is what we want. Exchange a link public token for an API access token. Link hands off the public token client side via the onSuccess callback once a user has successfully created an item. The public token is ephemeral and expires after 30 minutes. An access token does not expire but can be revoked by calling item remove. The response also includes an item ID that should be stored with the access token. The item ID is used to identify an item in a webhook. The item ID is also retrieved by making item get request. Okay, so what do you take in? You take in a token exchange request. And so then you, I guess, have probably an access, yeah. So you probably have an access token. And we set that to no, public token. And then we'll do the same thing, same check here basically. I'm going to shorten these names a little bit. I'm going to do PTR, and then I'll just do ATR. So we'll say if the access token request is not successful, then return results dot internal server error. Unable to get access token. And then we'll say up here, we'll say unable to get public token. Yeah, public token. I'm also gonna start this in watch mode because it's kind of getting annoying to have to start and stop this thing. .NET watch. Lovely, lovely, lovely. All right, that was successful. So we did get the access token. So now let's try to get the account information, and we'll just return that back to the caller. So we'll say var account equals await client dot accounts get async. And this has an account get request. I like APIs like this that have a very consistent, or not APIs, but SDKs. I like SDKs that have a very consistent pattern to them, you know, where it's almost like once you figure out how to make one call with the SDK, you know how to make all calls with the SDK, basically. It's very helpful when library authors do that. I'll do this equals ATR dot access token, and then I guess we have to provide the. Do we have to provide the client ID? The accounts get endpoints can be used to retrieve a list of accounts associated with any linked item. Plaid will only return active bank accounts, that is, accounts that are not closed and are capable of carrying a balance. So how do I specify the accounts get request? An optional object to filter. Oh, so it probably uses the whatever item is associated with the access token is what it probably uses. Okay. And then let's just return accounts. That. All right.
Did we just become
moment of
best
truth?
friends?
Ozzer Sir Ronman. Why can't you guys just use normal usernames? I don't know how to pronounce it. Also, I like the number you put in there. Very clever, very funny. Thanks for the follow, man. Let's see, speaker bot. How do you say this?
Ozris Iron Man.
Ozris
Iron Man.
Yeah. Ozris Iron Man, I guess is how you say it. This day, Twitch chat is not that active. Yeah, we haven't had much activity on stream the last few days. It's been a very quiet day, very quiet week on stream.
I'd like to say something.
What? What? I like how you said, "I'm sorry." Yeah, it turned into a demon for some reason. I know you were just trying to say "hola." I'm not sure why it turned into a demon. What was that? It was just someone on Twitch saying "hola," but the "hola" had a long A on it, or many A's, like "hola," you know. I'm not sure why. Let's see if it's just maybe it's an 11 Labs thing. Here, I'll try it again using Microsoft's built-in. It's just, I guess the multiple vowels really trip up these voices or something. Hey, looky there, it worked. How do I prettify it? There should be a way to format this. Well, that's cool. I haven't seen that functionality. I thought there was a way in Postman that you could format the response. Okay, so that wasn't terrible. That wasn't actually too terribly difficult. That was actually way more straightforward than what I thought it was gonna be. So we have account. We have a top level accounts key, and then we have a item, which must contain information about the bank. Okay. And then we have accounts, which is each individual, I think, account at the bank. And that has balances. So this is essentially how I would accomplish one of the feature sets of my application. So one of the feature sets, Busy Slim, interesting soundbite. It is an interesting soundbite. Text to speech makes the stream fun. Unless people are obnoxious with it and just being stupid, but I think text to speech is fun. I got a lot of joy out of the demonic Ola this morning. Let's see, I want to be able to connect all my bank accounts to the app. Okay. Yeah, so this is what we need to do. So essentially, in order to connect the bank accounts, we have to have a button on the front end. The button on the front end is going to issue an add request to my backend. My backend will generate a link, which it will pass back to the front end. The front end will use the link to do all the Plaid authentication OAuth stuff. Then, if that's all successful, it will return to me, or it'll post back a public token, and then I'll do this normal flow. So the question is, how do I want to store these accounts, right? Yeah, how do I want to store this stuff? Because essentially what you have is you have an item, and then your item has accounts, and your item has an access token that's associated with it. And then you have a current and available balance. So those are probably two data points I want to show independently. I definitely think I want to show the last updated date time, the current and the available balance. I want to keep track of that in my application. I almost
Did we just
though
become best friends?
Don't ban me, Steven. Nice username, bro. I will ban you. If you're obnoxious and stupid in my stream and you act like a fucktard, I will ban you. Grumpy Steven Dad does not have any tolerance for douchebaggery. Life's too short. Okay. Let's look at some of the structure of this data here. So my only question about, I think my only question is currently, is the last updated date time not a thing? Account type schema. Oh yeah, because they can support PayPal, they can support different types of loans, they can support investments. So I'm probably going to have to kind of go through, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do some of this on stream, because some of this is going to, I'm going to probably need to test with my actual bank accounts to try to figure some of this out. Which seems seems not a good idea. See you, Omanian. Have a good day, man. All right, so here's what I'm thinking the data model is going to look like at the moment. So we're going to have we already have our users, right? We already have our users. Our users are going to have a set of connected items. I don't know what this needs to be called. I don't know if we need to call it maybe banks or institutions, but in Plaid parlance, these are items. And an item initially can only belong to a single user, right? And that is the user who added the item. Now, an item can have, or a user can have multiple of these, can have multiple items. And then we also have, we're also going to need an accounts table. And I think for the accounts table, we're going to normalize some of the data that they're returning to us. And so accounts always belong to an item. So items always belong to a user, accounts always belong to items. A user can have multiple items, and an item can have multiple accounts. The account data needs to be normalized, though. The account data right now looks like this. And I think for our purposes, we're going to want to save the name, maybe the type. That might be important. And we're definitely going to want to save the balance information, so available and current. Now, I did say one of the features that I want to be able to support, though, if we go back to the list of supported account or supported features, I want to be able to see the balances in each account. Yep. I want the balances to update regularly. That I haven't figured out yet. I want the balances to be able to be refreshed on demand. I think that one seems plausible. We probably need to look at limits on the Plaid API. I'm not sure how to handle that. See, I want to be able to see how my net worth changes over time. So in order to see how my net worth changes over time, my application is going to have to keep like snapshots of this account data. So we're going to need some other table so that every time we update the account, you know what? We should probably actually, this actually makes sense, right? Like the way they return this data, it actually probably makes sense to do what they did. See how they have accounts and then they have balances here? We should probably have another table that is like a balances table that keeps track of the current and available at whatever point that we got that balance. And that table, that balance table, then we can use to track like on this day the balance was this, on this day the balance was this, on this day, you know what I mean? And then we'd be able to visualize that data in a time-based fashion. So we should probably have a balances table. Something like this. This is what I'm thinking at the moment. I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but this is what I'm thinking it should be. Okay, so let's read up a little bit about how often can we call this API. Let's see, fundamentals, liabilities. Good morning, Blackfire. Oblivion, I am not, but my sleep schedule sure looks like it. Hold on. Let me see what's going on. I almost slept through today's stream. No worries at all. Get your sleep. Sleep is important. But good to see you. Glad you're here this morning. Hello, Ryan. Good to see you. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Why is there a 2 accounts entity? Well, I think the idea behind that, yeah, so you're looking at, there's actually 6 in this, or 12, 11, I guess. So I think the idea here is basically like you could have, like in my case, like you could bank at Capital One, and you might have 10 bank accounts at Capital One, or you might bank at Vanguard, and you might have a Roth IRA there, and you might have just a traditional IRA. So I think that's how they represent the fact that the top level thing, the item, is like your institution, and then the accounts are like the individual envelopes of money that you hold at those institutions. I think is how they represent their data that way, based on what I'm seeing here in the response. But that also makes sense, right? Like that makes sense from just how I don't think you'd really want to represent it probably any other way. All right, so what are webhooks used for? So what are, let's see, plaid pattern sample? No, I just want to understand, what do you guys prefer to learn by watching? Our video tutorial walks you through the basics of incorporating plaid webhooks. Let's see, you can receive notifications via webhook whenever there are new transactions associated with an item, including when Plaid's initial and historical transaction pool are completed. All webhooks related to transactions have a webhook type of transactions. Sync updates. Fired when an item's transactions change. This can be due to any event resulting in new changes, such as an initial 30-day transaction fetch upon the initialization of an item with transactions. Note that when transactions sync, the older webhooks, which are intended for use with transactions GET, will also continue to be sent in order to maintain backwards compatibility. It is not necessary to listen for and respond to those webhooks when using. So basically, instead of me pulling for transactions, I can basically let Plaid notify me when there are new transactions. So I think I kind of want both. I want the ability to pull, but I would also just like new transactions to just show up in my app, right? All new implementations are encouraged to use. Oh, okay. So maybe I don't. Maybe I shouldn't pull. I should only use webhooks. So, what about webhooks for account balances? Historical update. Default update. Fired when new transactions for an item. Plaid will typically check several times a day.
I'd like to say something.
I have joke about programming, but it only works on my computer.
See, now that's a good use of text to speech. Good morning, Uncle Pee Wee. Good to see you. Ryan, doing great. Made a dynamically. Hold on. I gotta focus in here. Made a dynamically constructed state machine. Takes a list of key value pairs where the key is the state name and the value is the func that executes when the parent enters that state. Oh, that's pretty cool. Sam D. Dev, do you sometimes plan a lot of work thinking it will take just one day and then get bummed out when you only do one thing on the list? Not anymore. Not anymore. I'm pretty much a believer that almost everything takes longer than you think it's going to take. So that's always my expectation. Is like when I was managing projects in my food science career, like I got very good at just making sure I padded estimates because everything always, like if you were going to order, for example, we had two breading manufacturers we worked with a lot, and they would always quote us lead times. And if I knew that their lead times were 21 days for a breading, in my project timeline, I would always give myself 28 days, sometimes even 2 extra weeks, right? So, yeah, it just shit always takes longer than you think it's going to take. And the nice thing about setting the expectation that things will take longer is that when something does go right.
I'd like to say something.
In the world, there are only 10 types of people who understand computers. Those who do, and those who don't.
Another exceptional use of text to speech. But yeah, the nice thing is like if you plan for things to take longer, then you're pleasantly surprised when they go faster. So that's my 2 cents. I also think developers just seem to have a really bad rap at being able to estimate time, which I think is silly because you should just be able to track how long it takes you to do stuff, and then you should be able to pattern match those tasks, and then you should just be able to aggregate data to figure out like plus or minus, like what's the average amount of time plus or minus some standard deviation. And I don't understand why that's such a complicated issue in software development, really. For like if you're working on, like, what I mean by this is, let's say you're working on a CRUD application and you have to add a new API endpoint or something, or new model, or you have to add a new form, right? Which means to add the form, you've got to add the model to the database, you've got to add maybe some sort of DTO object, you've got to add a controller, implement the business. Like that task has like a list of subtasks, right? And so you should be able to keep track of like, well, how long does it take me to build out a new form? And you should be able to keep track of that data multiple times that you have to do that. And then you should be able to run some statistical analysis to say, okay, plus or minus, right? It takes me 5 days to do that, plus or minus 2 days. And you should be able to get pretty good at giving Rust estimates on things. I'm not sure why I'm not sure why software development in the software development lifecycle estimates are such a big thing. Like you should be able to just run a cycle of your process a few times, collect data, and then just base future estimates off of that data. But it doesn't seem like software development professionals have figured that out, or or don't want to do that. I'm not really sure which one it is. It just seems like it should be a solved problem. I think the issue is more often than not in software dev, you're pushing the bounds of what you know, so the discovery and implementation time can be very volatile. That's fair. That's totally fair, right? But why can't we build that in, right? If that is such a common occurrence, right? If that's like the nature of the work, that should be reflective in the data, right? Like you should be able to see that, and that should show itself in an average, right? If we were to track average, we should be able to like, yeah, I don't know. It just seems like you should be able to use historical timings to forecast future ones, in my opinion. Of course, there's definitely going to be exceptional cases, right? Like they want you to implement some brand new technology you've never touched before, but for day-to-day work, it seems like it should be much simpler. Much simpler than what it is. Uncle Pee-wee, nah, mine progress is getting blocked by other teams. Yeah, well, when you have dependencies on other, right? But again, those dependencies should be reflected. Like if you're keeping up with this, the thing I see is like teams just don't track the data and they don't analyze the data. They don't reflect on the data. Like they have no insights into their own processes, which for me, and I'm sure Ryan can relate to this, coming from like a manufacturing background, that makes no sense. The fact that you're running a process and you're not collecting data on that process and you're not analyzing the data on the process is kind of wild to me. And what else is software development but like a manufacturing line? That's pretty much what it is. Like product comes up with the idea, designs the spec, they hand it to the operators who are typically the devs and a QA team, right? And they go out and execute the work and do the testing. Then we ship it, right? Maybe DevOps is involved. There's some infrastructure or something, but like you can visualize it. You can visualize the software development lifecycle a lot like you can visualize a production line. And so the fact that so many people are in the industry aren't actually like managing their process that way, to me is just kind of wild. It took me 2 days to figure out the state machine, but it's going to save me so much time because I have 30 state machines I have to build. Ooh, yeah, dude, that's awesome. So I guess so then Ryan, how do you define the state machines that get dynamically constructed? Are those still defined in code, or are they coming from like files on disk, or like how does the input get ingested? I've been working on a CRUD app for a few days now, but I'm also learning a new language and doing it without any LLM aid. Pure LLM, a CRUD app can be done in 5 minutes at a cost. Yeah, you would think some of these known quantities would be much easier to manage too. Derek, some say software engineering is an art, not a process/science like you described. Well, I understand that, and I like Oblivion's point is very accurate. Like I see that with the developers I work with. Like you're constantly pushing the bounds of what you know, and so you're always being asked to like discover and learn new things. And I acknowledge, Derek, like you said, like there is a creative endeavor here as well. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like if you track any process long enough, right, the data somewhat sort of becomes a descriptor for the process. What I mean by that is like if you track your team's cycle, right, over the course of let's say 6 months or a year even, and then you just aggregate it, you should be able to see like on average our team takes plus or minus so many days or hours or whatever unit you're using to accomplish each feature we implement or each bug we fix. And sure, you can like drill down in there and categorize it further, right? You could segment the data further, but I just mean in general, like you should be able to collect data on your processes and analyze that data and use that data to inform how you answer the question about how long something will take, right? Roughly, right? Or at least you should be able to use that data and run like Monte Carlo simulations, right, to help you estimate tasks. I think the problem I see is like people just aren't even making the effort to like track the data and analyze the data, right? They're just like, I don't know. We build software and it takes us however long it takes us. And so we always suck at estimating things, and people always get upset with us because things take longer than we say they're going to take. I get that's I guess my thought process on it is not to say that it can be boiled
Kelsey
down.
Says I don't understand. Could you start over?
Good morning, honey. I'm opining about the fact that in software development, it doesn't seem like people do a good job of keeping track of their work and how long it takes them to do their work, so that they can project in the future how long it will take for a new thing. I love the British accent. I know, right? I forget what voice. This is an 11 Labs voice. Her 11 Labs voice, the descriptor for it is Lily, and then the descriptor, or the name is Lily, and the descriptor is velvety actress.
Kelsey says, right.
Let's see, Ryan. Those are defined as code. They're custom AutoCAD commands that take multiple user inputs that need to be modified at any point while the command is active. Each state is a step that gets one input from the user and does some sort of calculation and shows the preview in the drawing area. Nice. Okay, that's what I wondered. I was just curious how the inputs get ingested into your code, right? The code that generates the state machine. That's pretty cool. That will save you a lot of time. Anytime you can abstract something like that, it's always pretty cool. All right, well, what do we want to do next? I don't really know what to do next. I think the next thing to do is to try to model the data, try to store the data, and see how it feels. I think that might be the next thing to do here. Let me ask Gemini, though, real quick. So let's say I want to keep track of my account balances over time. What is the best way to update the account? Or what is the best way to get regular balance updates? Does Stripe have a webhook for this? I almost think maybe I need to. Let's see. First, you mentioned. Oh, whoops. Yeah, I'm not using Stripe. Sorry, I'm using Plaid. See, no, Plaid does not send you a webhook containing new balance. Plaid follows a notification pull model. They poke you to say something changed, then you go fetch the data. The balance tracking. If you want to track balances over time, you cannot rely on a new balance webhook because it doesn't exist. Most balance changes happen because of a transaction. Okay, this makes sense. Oh, the bonus. The response to transaction sync also includes the latest account objects with the updated current balances. Save that balance to your database with. Oh, okay. This is really nice. This is really convenient. So basically, what Gemini is saying, and let's vet this, is they're saying if I implement a webhook for the transaction sync, then the transaction sync. Where is it? Get transaction data or incremental transaction updates. Okay, the transaction sync endpoint retrieves transactions associated with an item and can fetch updates using a cursor to track which updates have already been seen. For important instructions on integrating transaction sync, see the transactions integration overview. The endpoint supports credit, depository, and some loan type accounts, only those with account subtype student. For investment accounts, use investment. Oh, shit. So we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to do a hybrid of this.
Did we just become best friends?
Thank you, the Glancy, for following. The same thing we do every day, try to take over the world. I like that. Let's see, I'm curious, is there any special reason why you use Gemini instead of Claude and ChatGPT? Just preference, I guess. Yeah, nothing special. I like the fact that, well, one, I like the fact that Gemini is relatively inexpensive. It's only $10 a month, and I can bolt it onto my existing Google Drive membership. So I like that. I like the convenience of just like, oh, I'm already using Google for my Gmail and my cloud storage, or some of my cloud storage. Let me just bolt on this ancillary service. I like that. I like that the Gemini models are very capable, and I like that the Gemini models are multimodal, right? They can do images, they can do video, they can write pretty well, they can do code, they can answer questions about code pretty well. So I like the Gemini feature set, I guess I should say. So yeah, just I guess preference, really. You know, it's not that I think Gemini is necessarily better than Claude or that I think Gemini is better than ChatGPT. It kind of fits all my needs, and I'm okay with that. And then I do use Copilot, so I do have a Copilot membership too. And so usually I'll use Copilot whenever I'm doing something that's much more like code centric, or if I want to do something. This is the feature I use the most, like. Let's say I wasn't sure how to do something in this Plaid API that I'm using, or this Plaid SDK. I could select it here. And then like I can ask Copilot to talk to me about, or I can ask Copilot to use that context, right, to answer questions. So I like that feature of Copilot a lot. I kind of wish Gemini had something similar to that, but the other benefit of a Copilot subscription, obviously, is then you can also use a bunch of different models. So if I really wanted to talk to Claude Haiku, I could, right? If I really wanted to talk to Opus, if I wanted to talk to the almighty Opus 4.5 that all the vibe coders are dick riding over, then I can do that. But yeah, so those are the two services I use. It's not really. I hope no one takes it like as like a statement of like, I think Gemini's better than this, or I think Copilot's better than this, because that's not how it's meant at all. Let's see. I think Gemini is better than the alternatives for what you use it for. Claude Opus is maybe neck and neck, but significantly more expensive. Nice. Expensive Claude Opus. Sam D. Dev, I find it hard to use Gemini since the answers seem like I'm just using Google and then an LLM on top of it. It just it makes very little inference from your questions. Oh, interesting. I guess I've not noticed that myself. I've had good luck with Gemini, as far as how I use it. So, I mean, this conversation is very much the AI shamanism of LLMs, right? Which is I just don't go in for it. I don't go in for this like, oh, well, if I use Gemini and I talk to it this way, it's better than if I use Claude and I talk to it this way. To me, they're all token generators, and for the most part, I can coax most of them to do what I need to do, which is just to give me an answer, and then I go and verify that answer with my own research to make sure that they're not lying to me. This is, for some people, this is a very important thing. For me, it's not a very important thing. Let's see, Gemini is a researcher and planner, Claude is more of a coder, and ChatGPT is good at other specializations. Yeah, and that's fine. Like, it's fine for people to categorize things that way. For me, it's just an LLM, and they all get the job done. I've used them all. Like, I've used ChatGPT. Anthropic is our provider at work, so I have extensive usage with all the Claude models. That's where I did a lot of the POC and proof of concepts for all the stuff we did at work with. I use Gemini personally in all my projects. ChatGPT, I've only used their UI. I haven't really used their API much. I did use one API provider that I haven't heard people talk about in a long time is Grok, but not Elon Musk's Grok, but this Grok, the really fast Grok. I used this provider for a little bit, and it was fun to work with them. I haven't used many of the open source models myself, but yeah, to me they're all just token generators. They get you to where you need to go in most cases. I'm sure if I was more into maybe like agentic development or something, I might have more of a stronger opinion, but it's not really my cup of tea. Have you looked at Google Genie? I have not. What is that? I've been messing with self-hosting as well. I'd say they're maybe 1 to 2 years behind enterprise, as long as you keep the context short, so not bad. Interesting, yeah. The problem I have with local inference is just I don't have the hardware to make local inference is so slow that it's not really usable for me, personally. I just don't have the hardware. Google Genie. Is this a joke, Uncle Pee-wee, or is this a real thing? I'm gonna Google it off stream. Let's see, Google Genie. Genie 3 is a general. Oh, this is a real thing. Is a general purpose world model. Okay, this looks cool. A new frontier for world models. Genie 3 is a general purpose world model. It uses simple text descriptions to generate photorealistic environments that can be explored in real time. Oh, so this could be like you could use it to like generate like you could probably use it to generate like games, right? Or something like that. Because it doesn't really seem like it's for video. It's more for, I guess you could kind of use it for video. I mean, that seems to be like what all these examples are showing are videos, but it's more about the world in the video, right? That's pretty cool. Oh, it's real time. Allows for fluid, real-time interaction with the generated world operating at 20 to 24 frames per second. Wow, that's pretty cool. So yeah, you could use it to generate like almost like a live interactive world, I'm guessing. It's very neat. Oh wow, look at that. That looks really real. This looks like a video game almost, That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Wow, that kind of this reminds me of Assassin's Creed, if you guys have ever played the Assassin's Creed games. So is this only like a research thing? You can't actually use it? Try in Project Genie. How do I get access? Project Genie is available in Google AI Ultra subscribers. See, this is all this time. The video is awesome. Okay, fair enough. I've heard people say video game company stocks are dropping because the VCs want to put money in this instead, which is disappointing. Yeah, it is disappointing. I don't. I think we're probably going to over-index on. Uh-oh. I think Twitch just disconnected. No, Twitch, come back. No, there. Okay, it came back, I think. Sorry, Twitch. If things get weird over there, I apologize. It looks like I disconnected for a little bit. No, I don't think it's you, Oblivion. I really do think. I think I had a hiccup. I think there was a hiccup on the connection. It seems like it reconnected though. It was all of us, maybe. Yeah, it was all of us. it was Steven's problem causing an issue for you. We get knockoff GTA 6 before GTA 6. AAA games sucked for the last 10 years anyway. I'm glad they're losing funding. Really? Man, I love me some good video games. New video games are such an exciting thing. You know, it's like this world full of hope that you're going to experience Halo 3 all over again. Or something like Halo 3 all over again. I'm not saying anything has actually reached those heights, but it's nice to have hope. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about. I still am kind of on the fence about. Holy shit! People are paying 100. Oh no, that's for 3 months. So what is it monthly? Google AI Ultra. I can't believe people are paying this amount of money to use AI. Google AI Ultra monthly cost. $250 per month. Holy shit. What is $250? 250 or hold on, compound interest calculator. What is that? That's like close to $250,000. 250. Put in 250 more every month. Let it sit there till I'm 62. Let's say we get a rate of return of 8% plus or minus 4%. Compounded annually. Holy shit. Yeah, that's crazy. People are spending that amount of money a month on AI. There's no way people are getting a return on their investment there. There's no way people are making more than $250 a month on their Google membership. That's crazy. That also just shows how AI is going to become more and more of a AI is going to become more and more of a social class thing where like the rich and wealthy nations can afford it or the people who live in like wealthier places will be able to afford to use it and leverage it for their benefit, but people who aren't in those places are going to get left behind. Yeah, that's pretty shitty. That's crazy. Ryan, that's my weekly contribution to my 401k. Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's so much money. Does Steven seem gray? Do I look gray? Let's see. Oblivion's 250. It's right there. Oh, I thought that was for 3 months, but I guess they were saying they were giving $125 for the first 3 months is what they were trying to say. If I look gray, I don't know why. Hold on, my wife just sent me a text. $120 per month for 3 months. Then there was the gray text for the full $250 per month next to it. Yeah, that's what I missed. But yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. I can't believe people are paying that. $250 is a lot of money. I mean, I know it's not. $250 to other people is not that much money, but $250 to me, that's a good chunk of money, especially if you take that money and invest it over time. I'll just stick with my $10 a month. That's a very cool project, though. I wish I could get access to it, but I'm not going to pay $200. I'm not going to pay $125 a month to get access to it. All right. I don't know what I want to do now. I guess let's check out a new branch and let's just make it kind of an exploratory branch. Let's do git check out the Stephen Freeborn feature support storing, or actually let's just do support adding accounts. So at this point, we won't really even concern ourselves with basically what we'll implement here is we'll only worry about, okay, can I get an account's information and can I stick that in the database with the institution, the accounts, and the access token. And we also need to figure out probably how to encrypt that access token. We probably don't want to store that access token in plain text in our SQLite database. We probably want that to be encrypted. Although that just adds adds complexity. This is where there's just questions I don't know the answer to until I kind of go down the road a little bit. Let's see, encrypted access tokens. If we encrypt the access token, then we need to generate a key for the user. We also need a master key for the app. We need a way to rotate the keys. What else? We need a way to rotate the key. We have to generate a master key for the app. I think that's it. I mean, that's not terribly complicated. And we should be able to use the admin CLI tool that I made to do the rotation. Because I think that's the one piece of information that we're putting in the database that could potentially be something that if somebody got a hold of could be kind of nasty, because it's a long-lived access token, and you can revoke it. I guess what can people do with that token? That's probably the better question.
MRK_Manansala is reminding you to hydrate.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Good morning, Mark. Good to see you, dude. Ryan, so with Plaid, do you keep all user data on a server, or are you keeping it local? For me, I'm just keeping it. Let's see, user data will just be kept on in my database. The only thing I'm planning on storing in my database is the user, the transactions for my accounts, and basically the account balances, right? And then the one thing that seems sensitive to me is the access token. So you have to store the access token in your database so that you can because the user basically grants permission once, or you grant permission once to the application to connect to your accounts, and then that application stores your access token. But the question is, like, what can people do with that access token? Let's say if someone gets a hold of your access token, what can they do with it? See, this is one of the most important security concepts in Plaid. The short answer depends entirely on what else they have. Unlike a standard API key, a Plaid access token is useless in isolation. Scenario 1, they have the token, but not your API keys. Every request to Plaid, like transaction, requires 3 things: access token, client ID, and secret. Okay, so if they can pull my access token, so assuming they can get the access token means they can get onto my server. It means they can get onto my server and they can access the SQLite database and they can query that database. Which means if they have that access, they can also get the client ID, they can also get the secret, because those are stored on the server in the environment. They have the token and your API keys. If an attacker has compromised your backend server and they have both your credentials and the user's token, they can impersonate your app. Yeah, so I'm basically hosed at that point. is what I'm saying. Like even so. What to do if you leak a token? If you suspect an access token has been compromised, rotate your secret, revoke the token. Yeah, that's one of those do encrypted at rest in your database. Okay, so I should encrypt it. Okay, so yeah, okay. So let's say someone gets a hold of my ID and secret. What is the attack vector then to use those? I mean, if someone can, if basically what it's kind of, if you think, if I were thinking about this from first principles, if someone gets access to my server and they can get the ID and the secret, So yeah, they could fish people with that stuff. If the attacker has access to your server logs or network traffic, no. Okay, so let's see what Gemini thinks. Probably taking security information from an LLM is probably not, or taking security advice from an LLM is probably suspect. But this may be just helping me clarify my thoughts a little bit. Okay, so let's say in my scenario, the access token is in a SQLite database, and the key, the secret and ID are in environment variables. Which means the bad actor has to have access to my server to get these things, assuming I've done everything right elsewhere. Is there still value in encrypting the tokens stored in the database? I'm basically looking for an excuse not to encrypt them so I don't have to deal with it, but I think I probably should do that. Melty, here's what you do. Encrypt the token, then plant a fake token and route it to an account with no money. So you're saying we should create like a honeypot? The short answer is yes, absolutely. You're correctly identifying a game mode scenario. If your attacker has full, in that specific total compromise scenario, encryption is just a speed bump. However, security engineering is about defense in depth. Ooh. I've heard this before. This is the single biggest reason for encryption. You have a vulnerability in your code that allows an actor to perform a SQL injection. The leaked backup vector. You accidentally have a backup, or a developer copies the production database. Oh, that's actually pretty valid. Okay. So does SQLite support that? Let's see. Okay. So let's see. SQLite encrypted column. Okay, I'll just do it the manual way. All right, well, add that task to the board. We do need to encrypt the access tokens. Okay, so I'm actually going to then do that first. So git checkout, git status. Git add, git commit, feature, whip on adding account, git checkout main, add support for encrypting data. So we'll just implement some sort of like encryption service that can be arbitrarily used to encrypt anything, and then we'll use that to encrypt and decrypt the to encrypt and decrypt the access tokens, but then we'll also want to add some administrative capability so that we can rotate the encryption keys that are used by both. There'll be a master encryption key, and then there'll be an encryption key per user. And so if we ever want to change the master, we'll need a way to rotate it, and then also decrypt and re-encrypt all the user keys. Is it really 6:44? Holy shit. I'm going to go upstairs real quick and get a cup of coffee and then come back down, and then why don't we chat for we can chat for like 15 minutes before the stream ends. I don't think I have any more coding in me though. I do feel like we accomplished our goal though. We understand what we need to do on the Plaid side. Now we just need to implement it. Or I should say we understand what we need to do on the Plaid side for accounts. We still have to figure out the transaction thing, because it seems like the transactions are actually different when you're talking to different types of accounts, which is confusing. I'll be right back. BRB. Bob, where are you going to host this? It'll just be on my own server. It'll probably be in just a VPS. Oh, my window's too small. Just use quantum encryption. I'm too dumb to figure that out. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get a cup of coffee. I was muted. Sorry. Well, the first thing I said was, "What's going on in your world, chat?" But then I saw Bob's, or not Bob's, Ryan's message. See, Mark, hello, Steven. Sorry for being late today. I got some things my boss provided with me, some task I need to finish. Got to rest soon. Hopping in and out. No worries, man. Good to see you. I'm just not a fan of online financial tools in general. It seems far too risky. Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you there. I've gotten kind of used to using them, but I totally understand your reservation. You can use it with Lisp. Let's see, handling resizing for TUI is also hell. Really, window resizing handling in general is something that I hate. TUIs are just a lot more complicated than they look. Milty, no Mike. Thank you very much. It would have taken me much longer to figure that out if I hadn't seen your message. Uncle Pee-wee, I saw your token. No! Sam, man, don't go off. I need you in order to stay motivated to work. Oh, I hope I'm not the only thing keeping you motivated. One day I might decide never to stream again, and then the channel will go quiet. I love making scrollable menus in TUIs. Man, my TUI development game is weak. My TUI skills are very, very weak. I'm trying to get better though. I'm trying to get better. Let's see, Melty. I wish the chat overlay for Vert YouTube put the newest messages at the top. Oh, we can change that. I think we can change that. Hold on. Let me see if I can change that. Let's see. Is that one? Properties. Oh yeah, that's a scene. I think I can change that. I don't know if I can change it today, but I can definitely change it tomorrow. Let me use my good old handy dandy trusty notepad. Change the chat overlay so that the scroll direction puts the newest message. What do you say? Newest message at the top? Yeah, at the top. It puts the newest message at the top. I have the weirdest to-do system currently. That's how I keep track of my to-dos. Hand over the channel before you go silent. I would continue your legacy. Okay. That sounds good, Gosling. Bob, I finally got the multi-agent system I've been working on going.
I'd like to say something.
Distraction time .612 .120 .120 .116 .13 .120 .116 .33 .120.
I'm surprised it didn't get more tripped up on that. Hold on, what did you say, Bob? I finally got the multi-agent system I've been working on going. Just checked Telegram, and they were working while I slept, filling tickets in each other's projects, requesting reviews, delegating. Oh, that's wild. Did they actually accomplish some work, or did they just move a lot of things around? Did it cost also, Bob? Did it cost a lot of money to run the system? Like, did you have to pay a lot for inference for all the agents to do all their agent stuff? That's the thing right now that's has me completely locked up with all these agentic systems is people like spending $20 in a day or $30 in a day to run their agents. It's crazy. I'll check out in a bit. Yeah, I'm so frugal. Like I won't I won't spend $8 on a cup of coffee, you know? Like the fact that people would spend 20 or $30 in a day to talk to an LLM just blows my mind. I mean, I guess if you can draw a direct correlation between I spent $20 and I then made $100, I guess it makes sense. But I don't know how I would make $100 from spending $20 on an LLM, right? Or I don't know how I even make $20 from spending $20 on an LLM. I'm on a max plan, so just $200 a month. So on the max plan, do you just like once you hit your limit, you're done for the week or the month or whatever? There's no overages. So for you, Bob, you would have to make, if you spend $200 a month, you just have to make $200 a month from that LLM's output. I don't know how I would do that. I don't know what I would make to generate me $200 a month. I don't know what kind of application I would make. Slop is expensive, man. Slop is expensive. Well, I mean, I guess in some cases it's not slop. I guess for some folks who kind of know what they're doing, right? I was once part of a beta test team for Anthropic, and they gave everyone a few hundred to spend on the API. I burned through it in days. Nice. I use a 6,000 for free at work. Oh, that's nice. Bob Knoll is rich as fuck. Or maybe Bob Knoll is just good with his money, you know? LLMs provide so little value, in my opinion, since they're just predictive models. You can't trust anything they generate. Yeah, I mean, I'm somewhere in the middle, you know? How many R's are in strawberry? I'm somewhere in the middle. I think of it as $200 worth of enjoyment or time back. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, if it's entertainment, or like you said, Bob, if you get paid let's say you get paid $65 an hour, or your salary breaks down to like $65 an hour, or even $45 an hour, and if it reclaimed you, what would that be? If it reclaimed you 4 hours of work, roughly 5 hours of work, roughly, then it would have paid for itself. So yeah, I guess that's pretty cheap when you think of it in that way. Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? I'm doing good, Rockin' Brain. Good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by the stream. Today was a pretty low-key day. We just did a lot of learning, a lot of exploration, but I think we have a good plan of attack on our next steps. But it was a pretty low-key day. We use it for alerting for disgruntled customer tickets that could be urgent. This makes us makes us lose a lot less customers. Oh, that's a cool implementation. Yeah. I mean, I can definitely see how a business could justify the cost. I just don't know how as an individual, like I would you know what I mean? Like for me, $200 a month is a lot of money to spend even on just entertainment, right? Just enjoyment for me, $200 is a lot. For me right now, it's an experiment and practice for the future, which I think is great, man. I mean, that's awesome. It's giving you something that you can speak to that other people can't, right? So I totally get that. Bob, seriously, man, you hiring Sam D, Dev, and I could use some of the coffee you're giving to the agents. Well, maybe when Bob starts his multi-agent consultancy, he'll need some people to help him. I don't know. I think if it was me, I would just take my $250 and shovel it into my 401k. If I had an extra $200 to spend every month, I would just shovel it into my investments. My hope is that I can be done working before LLMs overtake software engineer. Hopefully I can be retired by that point. Let's see, what's tough is you pay the agent $100 a month, get really fast interns in return. Paying a human $100 per month is not really sustainable for said employee. Oh yeah, it's the moral and ethical side of this whole AI LLM conversation is just super, super strange. Like I kind of wonder if I'm a little hypocritical. I kind of wonder if I'm kind of hypocritical because I mean, I think I am. Like, I'll just be honest. I think I am hypocritical because I'm using Copilot and I'm using Gemini, but I really, really hate the fact that both Copilot and Gemini are probably largely built on stolen training data. And I don't like that. I don't like the fact that these companies are making lots and lots of money off of training data that they probably stole from people. Because if I was to do the same thing, like if I was to build a large language model off of stolen information, I would probably get sued and prosecuted, right? Like that would not go well for any one of us individually. But because Google or Meta or Facebook, or not Facebook, Microsoft or OpenAI does it, it's kind of okay. It's very sus. Kind of makes me think maybe I need to actually cancel my subscriptions. Maybe I need to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. Ryan just rolled into work an hour after I normally get here. Gotta run. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of the day. See you, Ryan. Have a good time, man. Hope you have a great day. Bob, no, that's probably smarter than what I'm doing. I don't think it's smarter. I think it's just different. You know, it depends on where everyone is. I think if you have $200 to spend on experimenting and learning AI, I think more power to you, you know? See, Maddie? Yeah, I probably need to run too as well. It's 7 o'clock. All right, chat. Anything else you guys want to rap about before we wrap up for the day? Come back tomorrow morning. I'll probably try to implement the encryption service today. And then maybe we'll come back tomorrow and we can start working on adding some of the models for the accounts and the balances and the transactions and whatnot. We can try to see if we can't get like a working workflow. Oh wow, I guess quantum cryptography is a thing in .NET now. Quantum cryptography? This is an actual... I thought this was a joke. Oh wow, this is not a joke. Huh, that's wild. I did not realize that. Oh, and it just got released in .NET 10. Joy PRC, man. Have a good day. Look at this. For any of you that are still here. Post-quantum cryptography. .NET 10 includes support for 3 new asymmetric algorithms. The new types are ML-KIM, ML-DSA, and SLH-DSA. .NET 10 includes Windows Cryptography API next generation support for post-quantum cryptography, which makes these algorithms available on Windows systems with PQC support. Huh, that's wild. I don't know very much about cryptography, so I'm kind of like out of my depth, but the fact that we're already implementing code to protect against it is pretty crazy. Or I guess we're already implementing code to protect against a world where people can use quantum to break existing technology is kind of crazy. Alright guys, I'm gonna head to work, or I'm gonna go get ready for work is what I'm gonna do next. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, keeping me company this morning. I like that the streams have been pretty low-key this week. It's been kind of nice. See you, Oblivion. Let's see, if you're new here and you want to come back and hang out in the future, the best place to find us is live here on YouTube and Twitch from 7 a.m. or from 4:15 Central Standard Time to 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. You're always welcome to come and hang out. If you can't make it to our lives, because I understand it's pretty early in the morning if you're here in the United States, the best place to find us outside of stream is Discord. You can go to discord.stephenfreeborn.com, and that'll redirect you to the invite link, and you can join there. All are welcome. No pressure, though. You don't have to join, but if you'd like to, you can. Good stream. Sorry I sleep through most of it. No worries at all, Bob. Thank you for coming and hanging out, and appreciate you talking shop. I'll do better next time. You don't need to do better, man. You do you. You do you. All right, chat. I hope you guys have a wonderful Wednesday, and if it's Thursday for you, have an even better Thursday. Innocent Boys, new guy here. Well, hello, Innocent Boys. Feel free to join our Discord, or feel free to come back tomorrow morning. We'll be live again tomorrow morning, 4:15 a.m. It's pretty early in the morning if you're in the United States, but if you can make it, come hang out. All right. Let's see. What was I saying? Oh, have a great rest of your Wednesday. If it's already Thursday, have a great rest of your Thursday. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. All right. Bye, chat. Bye. Bye. See you guys. Have a good day. Appreciate you.